Now, Lindiwe Sisulu has come under fire for her article where she questions the standing of the Constitution. Sisulu also questions whether the judiciary should be overhauled. Many say, as a member of the government, her concerns, or they're concerned that she should be raising these concerns on a correct platform. For more on this and reaction to it, I'm joined by Inspecting Judge Justice Edwin Cameron. Thank you very much, Justice, for your time here on NewsLink. Now, of course, a lot of people would say that, or have already been saying that this was an attack. I mean, the minister is saying, mentally, calling black judges mentally colonized, saying that they are slaves serving in their oppressors' houses. She says that they are the most dangerous African because they are mentally colonized. So would you agree with South Africans who are saying this is an attack on the judiciary?
It's undoubtedly an attack on the judiciary, Masehu. And let us go back a few steps. Let us remember that there's another prominent person in public life. This is Helen Zille, who also groundlessly and scurrilously attacked the judiciary. And I would bring those two attacks in conjunction with each other. They are both done for partisan or political ends, for factional ends within a party or for party political ends. And when Mrs. Zille doesn't like decisions, she accuses senior judges of being ANC flunkies. And when Minister Sisulu doesn't like decisions, she insults the judges. She calls them, she didn't actually use the word, but one of the most denigrating words to use of a black person in South Africa is a coconut. And she also used the word lickspittle, by the way, in addition to what you've quoted. So she did two things, Minister Sisulu. She severely disrespected the Constitution, evading thereby responsibility for her own 20 years, the last 2 decades, in highly salient executive offices where she could have done a lot to improve the conditions. She blames on the Constitution and on coconut black judges. And then the second thing was that terrible insult, which I think really stung Acting Chief Justice Raymond Zondo and impelled him to go onto a public platform on Wednesday evening to denounce the absurdity and the lack of justification. In both Mrs. Zille's case and Minister Sisulu's case, there are no facts. As Acting Chief Justice Zondo said, she woke up and she decided one morning to attack the judiciary and the Constitution without any facts. Mrs. Zille was in the same boat. She woke up one morning and decided to attack judges last year without any facts.
And I think I remember Justice Zondo actually saying that it would be unfortunate not to respond to this letter that was penned by Minister Sisulu, and that's why he said he was urged to respond to it. But also, Justice Cameron, when you look at what's been happening in terms of the attacks on the judiciary, like you say, there was Helen Zille, there was also the former President Jacob Zuma. A lot of people are saying, a minister, somebody who is a senior cabinet minister and a senior in the executive of the president, she should publicly apologize, or rather actually be dismissed by the president. Would a public apology be enough? I mean, the damage has already been done.
Well, I'm not going to say what the president should do about an errant minister who makes such disgraceful and lamentable attacks on one of the 3 pillars of government. And I'm not really going to go into the question of an apology. I think there's something deeper behind this, Masejo. This is not about an apology. Why did Minister Sisulu get up one morning, as Acting Chief Justice Zondo said, and attack the judges and Constitution without facts? It's about political power. It's the same political power that the Zuma faction wanted to control when they sent Minister van Rooyens, when he was our weekend finance minister, sent his Zuma-nominated flunkies into the Treasury that Monday morning. They want political power, they want the goods. Are we going to distribute our social resources in accordance with the behest of the Constitution to create social justice, greater equality, to confer human dignity, practical services on people, or are we going to allow a faction of the governing party to loot? That's the question. And I don't think any apology is going to get us beyond that profound question, which we have to understand when we look at the attacks of Minister Sisulu.
And I mean, Justice Cameron, I think what I also found funny was actually the title of this penned letter by Minister Sisulu, where she says, "Hi Mzansi, have we seen justice?" I think a lot of people would say we haven't seen justice, especially the people who are still living in poverty today. And that doesn't really have anything to do with the judiciary. It has to do with the government that has been leading this country for more than 20 years that she is a part of.
I think that's right, Masehu. And of course, one of the stratagems that Minister Sisulu employed was to evade her own responsibility, because it's not the Constitution that is at fault. The Constitution urges us to an aspirational society where there is equality, where there is government accountability, where poor people have their lives improved on their own agency and through the agency of government resources and action. So it's not the Constitution, it's certainly not judges. The difficulty for both Mrs. Zille and Minister Sisulu is that judges don't do what they think they should do. Now, I can talk about my colleagues in the Constitutional Court. I can talk about the two most recent appointments, Judge Matopo and Judge Collipin. They are both rigorously independent people who are committed to the rule of law and the Constitution, and who will not be beholden to either Mrs. Zille or to Minister Sisulu's faction. So these are politicians who don't like that kind of judiciary, and therefore they slag them off.
And obviously this is very interesting for a lot of South Africans, especially looking at the fact that the ruling party is going to conference in December, where they'll be voting for their new leader. So, for a lot of people, this would be clear that she's putting her name forward to go against whoever is there, because the president refuses to tell us if he's going for a second term. But besides that, Justice Cameron, looking at the fact that the acting Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, I think it was very important what he said, in that it's okay to have an opinion against the judiciary. Criticism is definitely welcome, but when it comes with unbased facts, and then you also attack people like this and call them worse than the oppressor, that's where the issue really is.
I think you're right. And let us look, for example, at the attacks on the judiciary emanating from a cheeky website called Ground Up, which is one of the most important news sites in South Africa now and has grown enormously in the last few years. They attack the judiciary, and they do so because of delayed judgments. They do so because judges, in their view, are overpaid, and there needs to be a national debate about the remuneration, the leave, and the cause of the judiciary. In this time of difficulty for all of us, I think the judiciary should be thinking about that. So that's the basis on which Ground Up attacks. No one has accused Ground Up of having political motives or of having oblique or side or obscure conspiracist motives. They've got facts. And the judiciary needs that kind of criticism. Why are judgments in the Constitutional Court taking longer? Why is it longer to get directions from the Constitutional Court? Are you going to hear our matter? Are you going to dismiss it? Are you going to refer it in some way? It is taking longer. So there's lots of reason to criticize people like me as well. I'm inspecting judge of prisons. I'm in a public position. I get criticism from prisoners and their families, and rightly so, because we're not doing enough. And that really is the question, Masehu. What are we doing to fix our country? All of us, you, me, every one of your viewers this morning, all people in public life and in the political elite, we can do better. We know we can do better. We have done better. We've created the world's largest publicly provided antiretroviral treatment program. Why? Because we had civil activists like Zaki Ahmed in the Treatment Action Campaign. Why? Because we had brave judges like Chief Justice Arthur Chaskos and Deputy Chief Justice Pius Nkonzo Langa, the very judges who are now being called lickspittles by Minister Sisulu, bravely stood up to President Mbeki's government. And because of this, the civil society activists, the rule of law, which Minister Sisulu disses, and the Constitution in its right, we now have the world's best publicly provided ARV program. I took my tablets this morning. It's my 25th year on ARVs, and 6 million other South Africans have that benefit today. And that's because we got ourselves out of this blame game, this toxic racially infused blame game that Minister Sisulu wants to drag us into, this unjustified scurrility about judges that Mrs. Zille wants to drag us into. We've got too much work to do, each and every one of us. And there's nothing in our country, nothing at all, that isn't fixable if we put our minds to it.